saw firsthand.
Nobody wants to see him.
Exactly. Exactly. That how doctors treated him very well, actually, and the surgery prevented a major disaster.
Wow.
Then what happened? So he was
a Shliach?
no, he lives here.
Lawyer.
Yeah, he's a lawyer.
Lawyer.
So
I'm going to see it.
so what happened was he now missed Pasha Zocher.
Oh.
He missed Pasha Zocher. He was in the hospital.
Okay.
So what can you do? It's Pekuach Nefesh. Huh?
No, they would go to the Shabbos.
So he asked him a good question. Maybe he could have gotten the minions to lane. Lapoila, he didn't. Now came the Shabbos, Pashas Kitzeitze. So he said, "Oh, go to shul, and I hear the Pasha Kitzeitze at the end. The Zocher Shosel Lakam Molek, and I'll be Yoitza." His question was, "Is it really work that way? Does it really work that way? And isn't there a problem because the Balkoida is not having in mind to be machavan him to be Yoitza?" He was just asking, does it work or doesn't work? So,
Balkoida has to be Makam to Yoitza everybody for the whole career.
Balkoida, exactly. So I was thinking about it.
So if he's in to hear it, what's the point of saying it every day? Because he's a Paris.
And that's a good question. So that's what I'll talk about right now. It's a good question. So, so there was a question. You just asked a question. There is in Yerushalayim. There was in Yerushalayim. There was a very choshev erov. The name was Rabbi Tzvi Pesach Frank.
Oh yeah.
It was very very choshev erov, liked by everybody. He was a Talmud of Rabbi Shmuel Salant. Rabbi Shnei Zalman of Lublin, which was a chosed, Lubavitcher chosed, a chosed Tzemach Tzedek. He was very, very choshev erov. Yesteryear Yerushalayim. There's a picture of him petitioning the government in 1950. Maybe earlier. Him and another two choshev rabbanim about working out a deal about the yeshiva boys with the army, what to do. He was also involved in things, for Kolell Yisrael. So he has several books. One is Shal Shuvas Har Tzvi, and one is Mikroi Kodesh. It's very nice. Mikroi Kodesh is on the Yom Tovim. It's like Lomdas on the Yom Tovim. So someone asked him a similar question. So let's just read inside a little bit. Nishalti be'echad shalishama pasha zocher. V'niskaven lotzes yidei chavosa b'zman akiriyat satoida kepasha sashavua pasha teitze. Im yotza ish hazeh yidei chavos mitzvah zu hol v'akoida lo yichiven lo yitzia bazeh. So I just want to note that in the Sefer Mikroi Kodesh on Purim he has Simon Vav. He writes like this: the person who's listening, and for him to do the mitzvah, he has to have kavanah to do the mitzvah. Why? He says like this. Well, interesting lump. He says, if you're yotzeh by saying sheish chidus every day, or you actually have to hear it with the minyan from the Torah, and that's the only way to do it. So in Pasha Zoch. So the Rosh says it's min Torah. You need a minyan, you need a shul, you have a Torah.
The whole thing is said with the Torah. Think about it. It's talking to one person.
Right? It's a shayla, but that's why it's the Rosh. So if you go with the Rosh, so if you do now mitzvah derais, the Shtava Sered, mitzvah srichas kavanas, machloitis, we see the Alter Rebbe in them ton, it's a mesamach that we have to be machmer when it comes to mitzvah derais, we have to pass on mitzvah srichas kavanah. His chiddush is gam l'Ramban shehu derabonon. Even if you're going to say it's derabonon, there's an interesting twist. There's a sheet of the Magen Avraham that says that taka you have to hear it min Torah, but min Torah you could be yoytz also from other parshas, like he says you could be yoytz on Purim itself, which says vayove amolek vayalochem in Yisrael berefidim. So the min Torah part you could be yoytz then. And then Pasha Zoch is only the Rabbona. So even if you hold that it's the Raisa, if you come to all Kliyas HaTorah, there's many other times where Moloch might be mentioned. Okay, anyway, bottom line is, there is a shitta that it's the Rabbanon. Oh, I'm sorry. Go back a line. There's a sefer pula socher and ma'aser kosof she'eni yoytze pashas teitze im chaval kliyas haTorah. Interesting lumps. It says like this: if a person doesn't have kavanah, okay, he doesn't have kavanah. But what if my kavanah is the opposite? My kavanah is not to be yoytze. But that's the classical case is if you're in shul Matzah Shabbos and someone's making Abdullah. So according to the opinion, the mitzvahs ain't tzrichas kavanah. You don't need to have kavanah, and you heard, so you're ready to yoytze l'chayr. The answer is no. Since you befedish have in mind, I don't want to be yoytze, so you're not yoytze. So same thing here. So there's a svara to say that he came to shul, and he has in mind to be yoytze kriyas haTorah, not the mitzvah parsha zocher.
It's part of it, right?
It's a different thing.
Yeah, but
So
yeah.
this is the idea of reading the Torah, and this is zocher. So you could argue it's part of it, but you could say no. That's a different thing. It's as if that's a svara. So therefore, anyway, listen. According to the man Omer, that's the Raisa, he has to have kavanah. Say a svara. There's a shtickle svara to say even the man Omer that pasha zocher the Rabbanon. There is a svara to say you have to be mecham. The question is the opposite, the other way. How about the balkoide? How about the balkoide? Does the balkoide have to have kavanah to be moitzi you? Yes or no? That's a shaila. Should you walk over to the balkoide before? And yeah. So that's the question, he says. And interesting that the Pesach Tzvi Frank says that he thinks that good morning. Let's see for you right here. That Tzvi Pesach Frank said that he thinks that really you should go over to the Balkoida and talk to the Balkoida before and tell the Balkoida that you had a problem and that you should have your mind that you should be yotze the mitzvah of Zocher.
Because
This week, like this.
just the floor like that, so the Balkoida also knows that soon is coming, so he remembers.
Yeah. And he says like this. Why? He says like this. It depends. He says, he brings it Tzemach Tzedek, Tzemach Tzedek, but he says Kliyas HaTorah is not a chiv on the tzibur. Is a chiv on the tzibur, not on the yochid. So he says, according to Tzemach Tzedek, the Balkoid is not having kavanah for. He's reading for the tzibur.
Yeah.
So he's not having kavanah to be moitzi every yochid. And he says, so argue with Tzemach Tzedek, but he says, look, so therefore it's kedai to talk to the Balkoid. Okay.
Why they don't make announcement? The Rabbi has to go to Balkoid. He wants to everybody.
I'm sure
He doesn't daven in Beis Menachem.
The question is,
He davens across the street. I can't tell them what to do. He asked me the shayla, but he doesn't daven here. So, but the thing is like this: that that the svara. I just thought of it, just of an interesting thing, which is that Maramshik says from the Chassam Sofer that in a year like this, Hashanah Muberes, Pashas Kiseitza, everyone has to have kavanah to be yotze when they hear Zocher Sheshel Chamelach in the shul. Why? It says it's like this. What's the reason why Chazal made it once a year you read the Parsha Zocher? Because Chazal understood that Ein Hames Mishtakech Nalei Vad Yud Beis Chodesh. Why we mourn for a year? What's the idea of mourning for a year? Because up to a year the thing is very fresh. The pain is very fresh. Afterwards, it's a little bit Eibishter made in order for a person to be able to live. Take private the yard site. This no one ever forgets Chas v'Shalom, a father and a mother. But the Eibishter makes that the pain a little bit is less, so a person can move on in life. So because by Amalek we have to always remember the pain, but we can't forget. Zocher is achiv to remember. So minimum once a year you have to remember. But so this idea that a person forgets the pain after a year, as it go, like how does it work? How about if this year instead of 12 months, it's 13 months? It's a teva thing. So it's after 12 months, a person starts, the memory is not so sharp. So the Manavshik says that in a year, that's a Ibayor. So he heard already, he heard the Shabbos before Purim, Zocher, because Chazal said that Amalek is connected to Haman, and Haman is connected to Amalek, so we should put it together. But now, wait a second, till next Pasha Zocher is going to be, there's an extra month. So the Maramshik said you have to be Mechaven. So, who does it? I don't know. But Mechaven by Teitze, yeah. So I said, it's nicht gefährlich. Probably the Balkoide. The Balkoide is probably a Talmud Chochem. And if the Olam is not being Mechaven, probably Talmud Chochem is being Mechaven. So this anyway, there's the Balkoide and many people in the shul are already being Mechaven to do the Chiyas Amalek. So therefore, now there's a story with one of the Chassidim that he came to a town and they were reading Parshas Amalek. It was Parshas Zocher, and there was I think it was Reb Zalman Zezman, and then there was there was a person there. There was a city in Lita, it was Shklov. It was a Pinchas Rosh or something. He saw B'Shas they're reading the Torah that this guy really hates Amalek. You can see it. This guy's like,
He not clear your heart.
he really hates Amalek. So he says, he went over to him afterwards. He said, "What did Amalek do wrong to you? I mean, did you ever had a fight with Amalek? I mean, Amalek ever hit you in the nose or something? How do you get to hate Amalek so much? I mean, the Torah says, Zocher Shos Lach Amalek. The Torah says, but how do you actually come to really hate Amalek so much?" So he said, for that you have to go to Yochsnon, to the Alter Rebbe, my Rebbe. So the guy said, "It's true. Yes, he is to find out. How does a guy start hating Amalek so much?" So he went to Yochsnon and he became a chos of the Alter Rebbe. He found out that Taka, there is Amalek is repugnant. He came to the Alter Rebbe and he learned what Amalek is. And he started to hate Amalek. He really started to hate Amalek. If you realize what Amalek, if you learn the Torah of the Alter Rebbe and you know what Amalek is, you start to hate Amalek. Okay. There was, I mentioned last week about grape juice. I want to continue a little bit. Another shaila that once came up about grape juice. There was a controversy about this. So there's a sefer from Rabbi Yosef Zecher Tzadik Baruch's son, who's now chief rabbi in Israel, and this is a mamash, a prolific writer. He wrote probably by now. Yitzchak Yosef probably wrote by now 50 svarim or more. He like Ashbos Kumas. He has a pen that writes as quick as he thinks. And how he was able to publish so many svarim. But anyway, he has a sefer Ein Yitzchak. And he discusses stuff that is issues that his father had with the Eida Charedis in Yerushalayim. And one of them is interesting because we spoke about it last week about grape juice. So a second issue within the grape juice issue, we spoke last week, is grape juice kosher for kiddush, not kosher for kiddush? Whatever. Now a second question. Question is, a lot of the companies that produce grape juice put in a ton of water. They put in a ton of water. So he found out that the Eida Charedis allows that the company should put in 17% of grape juice and the rest water.
Wow.
So
because it's cheaper, or is it because
yeah, I think cheaper probably. Also, a second thing could be has to do with taste control. But that's the Metzias. So now, Rabbi Yosef was upset about it. He said like this. He said, let's read inside. Shechnorach writes, second shaila. Shechnorach writes, Shmori Yaim Vorach Len Ber Pri Agof. Nosam Mehem Maim, Im Nosam Mehem Shlosh Midas Maim, what's Arba Havelek Yaim Mozuk Vor Ber Pri Agof. If a person has shmorim, sediments of wine, and there's not much wine here, but he puts water, and for a quarter of the shmorim, he gets 3/4 of juice coming out. He puts a quarter, 3/4 water, 1/4 of the shmorim, and now it becomes wine. That's good, because that was the proportion in the time of Shas. For a quarter, of wine, they'd put 3/4 of water. If he found less liquid, it's dried up shmonim. It's a shahakal. One second, let's just finish reading it. The Mechaber says, the Maron Beis Yosef says that this is talking about the wines in the time of the Shas that were very strong wines. Our wines, they're not so strong. Even if you put 3 and you get 4, you put 3 measures of water. You put 3 cups of water, you come back a week later, 4 cups of water sitting here. Where did the 4th cup come? Not water. 4th cup of liquid. Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Obviously, it went out from the shmonim. That means the shmonim have in it juice. So we say just like if you took regular wine, you could do 1/4 to 3/4. So you put here 3 cups of water, and you got 1 cup of wine out of the shmonim. So okay, it's a good proportion. I don't know if you have to post it.
Much more. It's not like that. The Chatzila, you could see, okay, how many shmorim there is here, and
No, because
it has to be that there is much more shmorim.
there's a lot of from the shmonim comes out. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What do you say shmorim? What are you talking about? You know, today they have this like make the wine into powder.
Yeah, I don't know what
So
shmonim.
what do you put shmorim?
I don't know. I have no idea. Vim pots apachas. Afal pi sheyesh bei tam yain ku balmo. Vein mevarach el shak. Hayne beyene shalahem. Shechazok. Beyene shalonu. Says the Mechaber, our wine, she'enim chazakim kolkach, is not such a strong wine. Even if he put 3 of water and he got 4, our wine is not such a strong wine, so you can't do the proportion of 1 to 3. You can't do 1/4 to 3/4. That's what the Mechaber says. The Rama says, whatever you do, it can't be that the water is 6 times the wine. That means that there's 5 parts. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. It can't be that there's 5 parts water to 1 part wine. Whatever you do, doesn't matter. Okay. So as a cooler. Right.
More than 3 to.
Right. So B'Pashtus, and this is the way the Alter Rebbe, and I didn't quote it on the page because I try to keep one page. The simple pshat is that no one's arguing over here. Mechaber Ramah not arguing. The Ramah is just saying it depends on the minig hamakir. So if the minig here is to put more water, it's fine. But as soon as you get to 1 part wine to 5 parts water, you lost. And forget about it. I don't care if everyone does it. It doesn't matter. The whole world would do it. But Chazal understood that Rabbeinu Tam said it, is that I found one Gemara, another Gemara, whatever. But that's and the Augur brings it. Okay. So the Mishnah Berurah has here a shayla. He said, understand that the conversation doesn't flow here. The Mechaber said that you can't even do 1/4 to 3/4, and the Ramah says you can do even more, as long as you're not 1 to 5. The conversation doesn't flow. So I don't understand this question. The Mechaber said that we have whatever's the minig. So he just wants to tell you what's the ceiling. You can never, whatever the minig is going to change, it could change, but you can never have 1 to. As soon as there's too much water, if you have 1 to 5, you lost it. Mishnah Berurah comes up with a chiddush. He says that no, the Ramah is arguing the Mechaber. And the Ramah holds that any time and any place, wherever you are in the world, you could always do wine to water as long as it's less than 1 to 5.
Whether it's a strong wine or a weak.
No matter what, by shmonim is 1 to 3. Again, as I said, it's a funny pshat. The Alter Rebbe doesn't hold of that. So for some reason, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef thought that was. So then he heard. So. And he heard that the Eida Charedis had a policy that they would give a hechsher to grape juice if they put at least 17% of of wine. That means 7% of the concentrate. So,
16.666.
Tazai. So he thought that Pshat is like this. It's 16.666. And now they're going to put a little more grape juice, 17. So now it's not bottled. The Ramos says that if you have 1 to 5, you're out. Forget it. You're over. You're done. This is water. It's not wine anymore. So they put 17%. So 70% is kosher v'yosher. It's good.
So there was no minute, so
Oh,
they made a minute.
So Rabbi Vad Yosef said he was in a factory, and the Eidach Haredis Mashgiach, he asked him, he says, but that's not the derech. So he says, when us the Eidach Haredis gives a hechsher on something, we make what the derech is and what's not the derech. He didn't like that.
He said, heaven.
Exactly. He said, this is hevel avolim.
Yeah.
He said, well, what kind of silly thing is that? Because the Eidach Haredis is giving a hechsher that becomes the derech. That's silly.
We have to be careful
So,
when we
okay.
put in something.
So the,
Not to use it for quetzal.
I'll get to a minute. Kedem is a little different, but anyway. So before Shabbos, I went online and I looked. So so the Welch company themselves don't say how much water they put in to the concentrates. It's not. They don't say. But there is an article that I found that says that Welch puts in 15% of grape concentrate to 85% water. That's what the article claims. Now, Welch has a promo like video. They show you how they make it, and they show you that they're mixing water with the concentrate, but they don't tell you obviously the proportion. And they have a whole technique. They have an unbelievable technique of how to make the concentrate very, very heavy. How to squeeze out of the grape the maximum flavor to make that the concentrate is as heavy as can be. Like with maximum technology to make the concentrate very heavy. Why do they want to make the concentrate very heavy? Yeah, because this way they could put more water and it'll still be sweet. If the concentrate is schwach, they have to put 50% water. Right. And they're trying to get whatever they could get out of the grape, they're getting out of the grape.
What's all said about the iron being the 6. That's talking about wine, not about concentrate. Concentrate is a use of modern thing.
Yeah, why should it be different?
Because concentrate is extremely strong. It's not like
Okay,
wine.
so culture came to Kalvachoyma, you're saying?
No, so I'm saying that it's talking like regular wine. Coming but so it's not nearly as strong as concentrate.
Okay, so Kalvachoyma.
So it should allow you to put much more water in concentrate than you can put into wine.
Okay, so Kalvachoyma. So no. I know there was. I remember back. Maybe I
like the costs of it. It's so thick, especially the extra heavy Malaga.
Like Malaga.
Yeah.
The commercial was
illegal house.
the commercial was you could cut it with a knife. That's what I wrote many years ago.
Oh, very. Right. So the thing is, I think what the Eidach Haredis said was takasili. Was takasili. What do you mean they're going to make the derech? But on the other hand, I would say, but what they should have argued, if they wanted to argue, there's a different argument to be made. Here's the argument. Welch's company is doing 15 to 85 concentrate to water. So do you see that is the derech today? I mean, Welch's is the biggest company.
What the heck?
They have kosher and non-kosher.
They have a OU, I think. Not everything, not the whole Welch, but they have. Huh? There's also there's also a Hamish Hechsher that gives, and there's also another company which is also a big commercial, Nature's Own, that they also have from some Hamish Hechsher.
They do it together with Kedem. It feels like the people work or less concentrated. They work together.
They work together with Kedem. But they put more water, you're saying. The nature own is more water.
It feels to me that
Like more water.
or less concentrated.
Right. Right.
Hey, let me ask you, if someone has health issues and all this is not relevant, if we use that, they use it right without any questions. Someone has, can't have alcohol.
Well, let's get to the. There's a way to do things right. So the bottom line was that
Yeah,
Rabbi Yosef held. Rabbi Yosef held that it has to be roiv wine. At least there has to be a roiv of the grape juice.
You make it different.
Now, I think I'm not sure. I think, and I have to ask. That's why I mentioned last week, based on what I'm reading on the panel in the back of the kedem, because you have to put ingredients in the order of proportion. They write grape juice, concentrate, water. So I think it means that the biggest proportion of this mixture is grape juice. Now, if that's true, so then kedem grape juice is good for Svardim. I don't know.
Water is live.
Welch's dash Manischewitz with an OU or something.
Yeah. But I'm asking what's the proportion of water to the companies are not very quick to tell you this. What it is.
So in America, you put concentrate on water, when you're allowed to put it at the end because water is not consumed so much. It's like water and salt.
Right.
It's a different bean.
Right. So maybe I have to try to find out what legally. But anyway, according to this article, it's 15 to 85. So I would say if it's 15 to 85, so that's the derech. If the Welch is doing it, that's the derech. Here's the question. The question is, how do you look at this? In the days of the Shulchan Aruch, in the days of the Talmud, there was some generations they did 1 to 1, they did 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5. But if they did it, they did it. If they didn't, they didn't. Today we have different types of wines, like the very expensive, fancy wines coming from France. I'm not an expert. I would doubt that according to French law, it's legal to put any water in the wine. I didn't check it up. I would be highly surprised that it's legal for a French company who's selling expensive wine to put water into their wine. The expensive wines, it's hard to imagine that there is, and if there is, maybe a very little bit of water. There is, I think there is an issue like in California. They have the question is the sugar is very high because it's very sunny in California. So I think the California wines, they do put up a little bit of water because it's a high concentration of sugar. But otherwise, expensive wines around the world, they're not putting water inside. So the question is like this: do you look at everything flat, that everything is the same, or you say, look, grape juice, it's the derech to put water. Cabernet Sauvignon, it's not the derech to put in water. You look at all the wines as equal, or you'd say, depends. If it's a type of wine that you mix water, you mix. The type of wine you don't mix, you don't mix. That's my question. So I think it makes sense to say that it's not like it makes sense to say that if it's an expensive wine, the derech is not to mix water, then you can't mix water. That's what the Mechaber says. That's what the Beis Yosef says in the Shulchan Aruch. And I don't think the Rama is arguing on that. I think it's not true. The Rama is not arguing. And they both agree. But if it's type of wine that they do mix water, then you could mix water. Now, grape juice is the type of wine that they do mix water. What are the proportion? I think whatever Welch is doing, that's pretty much an industry standard. They're one of the very strong companies that are shipping all over the world their grape juice. And if they're doing 15 to 85, then that's kosher. Well, 15 to 85 is not kosher because the Rabbeinu Tam said that once you have 1, 2, 5, you're out. So therefore, you would have to have 17%. So that would be an argument if they that's not what the argument they made. If they wanted to make, I would think a raya for this. In the olden days in Europe, there were some countries that Jews had wine, like Hungary, for example. There were many other countries that they didn't have wine. It was not shaykh to have wine, but they used to make raisin wine. Have you ever tasted raisin wine?
My mom used to make a
Yeah, raisin wine. I remember once in camp in Gan Yisrael, as an activity, we made raisin wine, but they never gave it to us afterwards to taste. That was
Because it takes too long, it
Underage.
comes sour.
So I assume it tasted worse than the worst vinegar. So, but that's what Eden. My grandfather used to tell me that his father was very makbid to have wine for kiddush. Most people in Europe used to use challahs for kiddush. They didn't make kiddush on wine. I mentioned this once. Rabbi Hella told me he was close to Rosh Yeshiva in Ponovich, Pavarsky, Larichas Yomim, Rishon Davis. So Pavarsky told him, you remember as a child, he came with his father, David Pavarsky. Was actually then, when he came to Tel Aviv, was Rosh Yeshiva in Lubavitch Yeshiva. And he said the first Shabbos he came to Tel Aviv, he saw they were making kiddush on wine. He asked his father, make kiddush on wine? Isn't kiddush on challah? There was, they didn't have, the litter, they didn't have wine. But
There wasn't.
they couldn't afford to bring wine from another. They couldn't cultivate grapes there, and they couldn't afford to bring wine from a far country. So, though there are people, but raisins you can ship easy, because raisins they go in bags and they stay for a long time, and you could ship them around the world. There was the industry of raisins, a very old industry, and raisins have been shipped all around the world. So there were those people that used to make raisin wine. So there's machlokas about there's
water.
they put water. Oh, so they put a ton of water. So there is a tshuva from the Marid that says the water here it's different, because the water here is, he says, it's just like grapes. They grow. And how do they grow? It rains. The water goes in. He says that here the water goes into the raisins. This water don't count as water. It's not water.
I mean, the raisins are already dehydrated.
Yeah. So he said this is not water. But then the Chacham Tzvi said, laughed at him. He wrote a tshuva saying that this is silly. He says, if God makes it rain and grapes grow, that is not water. That's grapes. But if you took raisins and you put water in it, that's water. It's not. So, but we see from this discussion that at least the Maharid thought that raisin wine is different than regular wine. The proportion of water is different. So
concentration. So it must.
right, the stronger. So you see, he probably exactly. So it's not that he was that the Marit was dumb and he thought. I think the Chacham Tzvi argued him. What he meant to say is that not all wines are created equal. Some of them you could mix 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 1 to 3. And he said, when it comes to raisins, because it's so concentrated. Because the raisins are so concentrated, you could put more water, and the derech was to put a lot of water. So it's not a problem, as long as it's less than 1 to 5. It's the same thing here. You could say that grape juice it's very concentrated. It's like the same like raisins. And what's the idea of raisins? That's what someone just mentioned. That is very concentrated. So therefore, I think that it's nishkeferlach to go. But anyway, those that follow Rabbi Avad Yosef, he said no. You have to have that. There should be. Again, I think that the Eidach Haretz made the wrong argument. The argument should have been not that we may give the hechsher. Who cares what you do? They should have argued that Welch company in America is doing 15 to 85. So that's the derech. And then they should have made another argument saying that not all wines are created equal. And just like we see that Yain Simukim, that the Maritats, by the way, Svadi Pesach, said that you could, raisins. So that should have been their argument. Anyway, Lamaisa, you have to see each company does differently. Like I said, I think Kedem actually figured out the way to make it that should be also for Svardim would be fine, because I think they do put roiv. They put roiv grapes. I mean, it's a funny thing. I see now when we get to Sichat HaShavua, that now, whenever I used to go to Israel, I used to buy local grape juice. Now I see that the Kedem is shipping their grape juice to Israel. Isn't that funny? Usually Israel is always shipping to the rest of the world. So Kedem, they figured out that they're it's unusual, no?
The part unusual is that the food it's made over there costs more than it does over here. At least example.
Right.
It's more. I don't know how the economics works.
It's a crime. It's a big crime.
That's
So
a
Maybe
crime.
that's why there's a gap in the market.
competition, and they don't
Right.
have to
Shipping,
bring
I
from
thought-
outside.
What?
That's-
There's not so much competition there, and they make you problems to bring from abroad.
No, but I'm saying they said
You
like
can't have
competitors
competition
coming in could be they're filling the gap because it's more expensive.
That's because
Bringing in is
Yeah.
mitzvah the Israeli government does it?
What?
Who does that to make it difficult to bring
The
it in?
Israeli government makes it difficult to bring things from abroad. And the only reason why Karen could come in is because when they made the agreement of the free trade between America, some of they have to allow certain things. So Karen somehow was able to get their way.
Maybe there was one they were interviewing once a member of parliament once in Israel. They're saying the Arabs had their natural resource is oil. Our natural resource is tax. He said so it's a natural resource.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
But how can we say that the Ramos says that depends on the country? How can we bring a raya from a different country, from America? What they do?
No,
in
but I'm
America?
saying that because they ship all over the world. They ship Amish all over the world. So, okay, since we do three shilas, someone came Shabbos, this Shabbos. I'm leaving the third shilah alone right now. It's a complicated one, and I want to wrap it up. Someone came in Shabbos. He has 4 names. Nabach. He was born. His father gave him 4 names. He feels that he has a lot of bad mazel for 3 out of the 4 names, and he wants to shed 3 out of the 4 names. So we have a process that when a person's sick, there's
name.
So he wanted that he wanted only one of his 4 names. That's it. This is a good name. I like it. There's good energy. The other 3 is giving me nothing but trouble. He came. That's it. He's determined. He wants to lose 3. He wants to shed 3 out of the 4 names.
If this guy identifies only as one name, I think that you identify as that.
Oh, so the truth is that there is a concept. So I said, look, we can't make it's in the Siddur there is a simple piece to say, which is Nishtana Shmoy Machmas Choyle. You could change Shem Zem for Choyle, but you can't use that text because the guy is not sick. So Chas v'Shalom, because you don't
get sick, you can do it.
he should never be sick. There's a Chas v'Shalom to use that text. So I said that it's very simple. That this week's parsha talks about divorce, and it's a complicated sugya, but the bottom line is that there's a thing called Shem Shenishtaka, a name that had sunset. The sun had set in the name. To the extent that some place can say if a person actively decided not to use a name for 30 days, that name is Nishtaka. That name, there was sunset on the name. So I said, very simple. He should get an aliyah with one of his 4 names and press repeat 4 times and make sure that he tells his friends that he doesn't ever want to be called again by any one of those other names besides this one name. I think he wanted Shlomo.
It was Habakkuk.
Huh?
I thought he wanted Habakkuk.
Huh?
I thought he wanted to be called Habakkuk.
Habakkuk, yeah. Chabad Besakot. There's Rabbi Dinsteinzelt has a son that he gave him like 5-6 names. It's funny. So they call him Amachaya. I forget what the names is. It's an acronym for all his name, Amachaya. So this guy could have become Amachaya, but he didn't like the Amachaya thought. So he wants one name. I said, we can't. We don't have. I'm not going to start making up some. But I told him, look, we'll give you an aliyah, and we'll give you an aliyah with Shlomo. Make sure with make a mishaberach and Shlomo, and do repeat 4 times. I'll make you get another aliyah, yeah. And then make sure that all your friends and relatives know that you only like to have the name Shlomo, and then it'll be Shlomo, and that's it. We're done. I'm not going into now a whole spiritual thing about the Buaktana and what was and what is. This was just a technical question. He didn't ask me advice if he should or if he shouldn't. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it Api Kabbalah? Is it Api Nister? He just wanted to change it. So, very simple. He got an Aliyah. He was called up as Shloime. He got a Mishaberech named Shloime. And if he follows instructions, the son will set the other three names. What?
Your father has 4 names.
My father still has it. And he's very makbid to go with all 4 of his names. He's very, very makbid because he doesn't want the other names, even though he's called by one of them. But he's always makes sure to emphasize that he has. That's why when I have Elul Torah, I make, because I know it's for my cover to my father. He wants all 4 to be used.
Yeah, I know. And Nachman,
Think it is.
Mendel Yankee, he's very much liar.
Uh,
Yitzhak Fried,
okay.
you know,
Think it is.
What does he do with his soup?
He's a Talmud Yeshiva. He's not married. He's not married.
So
So David shall help. David shall help. He should get married and he should have good mazel. And every one of us should have unbelievably good mazel. We should have a ksivach and a toiva
hey,
and a shana toiva sukkah.
So when your father was the God, he has 4 names.
4 names, yeah. Very always made sure to have it. It's very, very makbid about that.
he had one son, Nachman Mendel Yankee.
Okay, thank
And
you
he's
so much.
very much liar. There's a lot of money.
I still don't have the mezuzah.
And he was married.
Oh, how many messages did you tell me then? You needed. Six.
anyone want to take some bagels? Take some bagels home.
We have good spirit.
We're having an unbelievable.
When I
We're having a
not-
break. Yeah,
I have,
Dan,
mother
if you have a moment and I'll tell you that story that I was gonna send you. It's easier for me to tell it to you than to send it.
And if you want me to reprint it, I need to see
I can answer. I can answer. I watched 2 hours ago. I can answer. I watched 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So I can.